Well, it's great to see you. I wish you would all cluster more. Those students at the back, hanging out at the back, looking at their mobile phones, come to the front. No, anyway, it's great to see you. Look, I know this is an award ceremony, but as far as I'm concerned, everybody's a winner. I mean, when you just look at the projects and the complexities of the projects we were, and thank God I wasn't a jury member, by the way, when we looked at those, and then the shortlist became Buffalo, South Africa and London, you just realized, you know, these dilemmas: housing, gentrification, no money, poverty, jobs, and trying to deal with all these things simultaneously and actually show it to the outside world and increase the spirit in those places. I just was really blown over. But Larry, can I hand over to you? You tell us how we're going to go about
Sure,
this.
I'm ever ready. Thanks, Charles. First of all, I totally agree with Charles that all 15 finalists for the 5 different categories of the Bay Award, they are all winners. Regardless of whether tonight who's going to get the first, second, or third, but all of them are winners. And this morning, Idowa interview by Christian, there was one question that she didn't talk about it. Why Urban Revolution or RELA in Bilbao? Okay, let me say, as the former Prize Secretary of the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize, Bilbao was awarded the inaugural Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize in 2010. So they are more than qualified to organize this URA. In fact, I think I'm very happy that when we started the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize, and now we can see the second stage, and that is Idowa from the Bilbao Metropolitan 30, taking off with the base awards. Congratulations. Thank you, Idowa from B30. Yes, Charles, they're all winners. But to me, not just because I am one of the jury members for this category, but I think the 3 finalists for the Prosperity Catalyst are very important winners. Why? Because the category is Prosperity Catalyst. So they are responsible to make the community wealthier and with better economy, with everything. So quality of life is better. Now, unfortunately, for some reason, the path to prosperity in in Buffalo, they are not able to join us today, but we won't forget them. They are finalists. They're also winners. So we now show the 3 minutes video of the Buffalo project. Please.
And then we're over to these 2 folks. I mean, these 2 projects here.
They're going to show the video first. Oh, okay. Maybe some technical reasons. Okay, so without much further ado, the 2 finalists that he represented here is Mark from Places for London, and also Neo and Kate from the Social Employment Work for the Common Good in South Africa. So maybe let me start with Mark first. Right, so Mark, it's a very important project that Places for London has done and is still doing. What were some of the challenges that your project encountered? And perhaps you can share some of the impactful results that you have achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, thank you for having us. We're absolutely delighted to be here as part of the Bay Awards. I'd I thought I would start this short answer, hopefully short answer, by talking about some peas. But Elaine from Singapore already beat me to the use of peas. But I'm not quick of mind enough to revert to something slightly different. So let me just talk about four P's very quickly. The first P, of course, is places for London. And the big idea really with Places for London is that public land, and particularly public land around transport infrastructure, drives prosperity. So hence, I would hope our inclusion in the shortlist for this award. So that's the first two P's. The third and the fourth are partnerships, which I'll come on to in a moment. And then fourthly, patience, which I'm sure everyone in the room would agree is a virtue where urban regeneration is involved. So London is, as so many cities are, an unequal city, unfortunately. Something like 1 in 23 children in London are in temporary accommodation. London's boroughs spend between them about £90 million a month on temporary accommodation for their residents. And in some parts of London, if you want a home for your family and you went on the waiting list tomorrow, you'd be waiting something like 30 years for a home. That's not good. At Places for London, we're working very much to the principle that the best thing, or the single most important thing that we can do to improve people's life chances in London is to give them a front door and to give them a roof over their heads. And we're doing that in a couple of ways. First of all, we have what I would probably describe as an ambitious but nascent housing programme. So our stated ambition is to build 20,000 homes across London over the course of the next 10 years. 50% of those homes will be affordable homes, and that's a really important qualifier. We're not in this for capital gain. We're in this because we want to make a difference to the people of the city. As things stand, we've managed to complete 1,000 of those homes, so somewhere in the region of 2,000 to 2,500 people now have roofs over their heads in London as a consequence of our work. There's a further 3,500 in the pipeline, so at some stage of development. And we hope to see those come to completion fairly quickly. And of course, it would be remiss of me not to mention the kind of link between homes, stability, community, and employment. So we really are seeing this in many of our projects that being able to get roofs over people's heads is making a difference to their life chances. The second thing I'll talk about in terms of what we are doing, and to Larry's point around some of the challenges that we're encountering, is around urban regeneration, effectively. So Places for London is more than just homes. Places for London is, as the name suggests, about places. We have a significant legacy estate. So we think we're about the third biggest landowner in London. So we have many railway arches, many station retail spaces, many high street shops, all of which form the backbone of London's economy. And what we're about as a business is investing hundreds of millions of pounds in that estate to generate prosperity, so to enable the roughly 1,500 businesses who operate out of these spaces, 95% of whom are small businesses as well. We're not talking, global mega giants here. We're talking about, two-person coffee shops, a handful of people running a climbing wall company. We're investing in those spaces as a business, and we're working with those people to ensure that they are successful and they can continue to contribute to the lifeblood of the London economy. I'll then come on to say a couple of other things before I close. Places for London grew out of Transport for London, which for those of you who don't know is the integrated transport authority for the capital city of the UK. So inherent in everything that we do is delivering transport benefit. So in every project that we deliver, we look for opportunities to revive and regenerate the transport network, whether by providing facilities for people that work on the transport network, so train drivers, station staff, and so forth, or building new bus stations, as our development at Edgware in North London is doing, or just encouraging ridership by building homes close to transport hubs. The money that puts into London's economy through that increased ridership is helping aid the recovery from COVID and generally moving London forward on the kind of the economic development curve. The final thing I'd say is the biggest and most important challenge that we have come across is in measuring the impact of the work that we do. We've had some very good minds on it, and I could throw numbers at you till I'm blue in the face in terms of the investment, what we're putting into what we're doing. It's a little bit harder, we're finding, to understand the impact, particularly the economic and the social impact of what's happening. An example I'll give to close is the economic impact of all the training interventions we're doing on construction skills. We trained somewhere in the region of 8,000 people, 3,000 of whom have gone into work. How do we quantify the benefit to London and the world's economy of those people being economically active, whereas previously they perhaps wouldn't have been? So some big questions that we do still need to work on. We're really proud of what we've done so far, but there is much to do.
Great, thanks, Mark. You and Places for London for making a real difference to the people. I think what every one of us is trying to do, even you, Urban Revolution Orella, is to make a difference to the community, and you certainly have achieved that. I've read your report, very, very good report with all the figures that you have written. Now, let's go to South Africa. How are you making a difference similar to what Mark has done for Places for London?
Good morning, Larry,
Morning.
and good morning to everyone. Thank you so much. I think we are quite honored to be present here today and to be a finalist. Work for common good. I think there is no shortage of work to be done to make communities better. You know, and the Social Employment Fund has been quite an instrumental vehicle for us in South Africa to be able to do that. We have found that you know, when you look at work, a lot of the time people try to put economic value to it. And through this project, we actually transcend just the economic value to it, but the social value that it brings. I mean, we've got projects across the country, many projects across the country. We have partnered with quite a number of NGOs and created a whole number of opportunities on various levels. So before you even get to opportunities for the individual, we've looked at opportunities of kind of your bigger NPOs getting together with the smaller guys and helping them out. So it's quite a chain that we have created there. But back to the social value of it, you find that people have got pride in what they are able to do. So the Social Employment Fund has managed to bring together people to solve problems within their communities. And along with that, other than them getting, you know, some kind of economic remuneration for the work, it also brings about that pride that you are a part of a solution to problems in you know, within your community. So we found that the social value is quite a big one and exceeds the economic value. that our interventions have brought. I mean, our program covers quite a number of spectrums. And particularly, I think the one, in this category that we're looking at is looking at urbanization, looking at improving, urban spaces. And some of our projects have managed to very well marry greening with purpose. So we're not only greening, our urban spaces, but we're also bringing purpose to them where, as an example, in the inner city of Johannesburg, I mean, if you've been there or seen images of that, it's like a concrete hub, And we've got projects that are not only cleaning, but greening the area with a purpose, and that brings with it that we're not only just planting flowers, but you're actually looking at what purpose can they be. So we're planting food. And people can actually, get some value out of that. And I think I'll leave the rest to Kate. Thank you.
Before you go there, I remember reading your report that, yes, your social employment is actually very broad. And one of the interesting categories is the gender violence.
Yeah.
Could you just add a little bit on that one?
So you would find that, as I said, bringing this concept of people being, a solution to their own community's problems. I mean, you have a lot of violence in South Africa, especially gender-based violence. And I think a number of our projects, we've got quite a number of them that are centered around gender-based violence. And where you have found that you have people that have previously been, violated, that are actually taking a part. So they are taking their own back and getting their strength back, but also helping communities. And I mean, one of the projects, the ladies, they wear pink overalls, and they are called pinkies, and they have become quite famous where somebody's experienced violence within the family or is being abused. They are able to call on to those guys who've previously been abused. So you have somebody who understands what you are going through, dealing with your problem and assisting you. I mean, it really just, they take it from getting you to a place of safety, reporting the incident, and then taking the legal, route to solving that. So we have found that, again, as I said, it's quite a model where people are solving their own problems. Yeah.
Yes, because it's interesting. I mean, South African problems and the places for London problems are quite different.
Yeah.
They could be quite far apart. So we'll look at it differently. Kate, you have anything to add on?
Yes, I think what's important in the South African context is that we have very, very high levels of unemployment, 55% youth unemployment, and during the pandemic, unemployment rose further. And so there was a real sense of urgency. We heard yesterday about how crisis catalyzes the opportunity for change.
Oh, yes.
And this is an example of that in practice, because there was a need to roll out a mass public employment program in South Africa in the context of the crisis. But there have been lessons from that we're now applying beyond that particular crisis. We have other crises, and the crisis of unemployment hasn't gone away. So I think, I think that's a key lesson. I think, so the Social Employment Fund has taken an approach in which it supports organizations at community level to identify what we call work for the common good. And as Nao has illustrated, that work can encompass a very wide spectrum. And I think one of the key lessons is that you can both go to scale, but do it on terms that unlock community level agency. And that's what the Social Employment Fund is doing. So within the 2.5 years it's been operating, it has employed over 100,000 people at 6,000 sites across the country. And in every one of those sites, the work that is undertaken is identified locally. So a key lesson is don't over-design from the center. Design in such a way that you enable, you unlock, you create the opportunity for agency to come from below. And what has amazed us
The ground-up initiative.
Exactly. What has amazed us is the level of social imagination. So from the Pinkies, who are supporting victims of gender-based violence, through to food security initiatives, urban food gardens, greening, cleaning of rivers, planting indigenous grasses on riverbanks in the urban areas from one of our very densely settled areas. The level of social imagination that is being unlocked is what is so exciting. Thanks.
Yeah.
Larry, can I just make a suggestion? Because we're having such a lovely flow that we'll put the buffalo video at the end just to sort of continue our rich conversation. Is that all right? Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, one question. I thought that Michael Coe asked these simple questions, what makes you not sleep at night and all of that. Well, my question to you two, as a starting point, what's your big idea? Boom, just like that. What's your big idea?
The big idea here, actually, Charles, links to something you said earlier today in your slides, which is that we can't rely on the market for everything. And I think the big idea here is that in most of our societies, we
I'll
do...
stop you here. I just want to add on to Charles' big idea. It's not just big idea, it's big idea that you can share with other communities or other cities to be replicated so that its impact is even more eventful.
Exactly. The big idea is that employment matters too much to people, to cities, and to societies to leave to markets alone. Most of our societies and our cities recognize that you can't leave things like health, education, public transport to markets alone. The big idea here is that employment is in that same category. It matters that much to communities and to society. And I think the key point that the big idea of social employment is that labor, even when labor doesn't have a market value, even when there are no jobs in the market, labor has a social value, and it can create social value and environmental value and economic value. And what we need are instruments to unlock that value. And that's what the Social Employment Fund is. It's an instrument unlocking the social value of labor. And that can be replicated. It has already been replicated on 6,000 sites in South Africa, but it can be replicated in any city, in any society in the world.
Can I ask Mark a question? Because, you know, what you described, you thought, my God, you're the third biggest landowner in London and all of that. And we're just trying to imagine
Much getting
what that
richer.
means. Well, not him personally, but the entity. But one of the things, where does the money come from? Or point one, where does the money come from? And do you have external investors who understand that you've got a slightly different business model? Do you mind spelling that out a bit?
So not at all. So Places for London is entirely self-funding. So it takes no money from the public purse. The way it works is our existing estate, so all of the arches, the retail units, there are some offices in there, there's some residential units in there. That generates the income. That's the money that we then invest in the future, if you like. So if we identify as part of the 20,000 homes pipeline that I've described, we have a pipeline, and ultimately that pipeline is initially funded from within our own income. What then happens, and to go on to one of my P's, is we form partnerships. So in exactly the same way as Kate as I think just set out, we don't believe that the development of London, the future of London, needs to rest solely in private hands, if you will. We think the power of the public-private partnership, to coin a phrase, but not in the traditional sense, is where the benefit in our business lies. And we work with a range of different organisations. So when we're building homes, it's developers, as you might imagine, and we have joint ventures with them. So rather than having, as in the past, we dispose of the land, we take a kind of cash receipt from it, and all the profit, all the benefit sits with the developer. We say, no, that's not how we want to work. We will invest some of our money in that development. We'll go, all our joint ventures are 50-50. And we'll share the risk and we'll share the reward. So what we're doing there is we're taking as a business a long-term stake in the future of the London that we are developing, rather than selling out at the earliest opportunity. We do turn a small profit mercifully. That, by sort of prior agreement with Transport for London, is returned to them to reinvest in the transport network. So as well as the kind of indirect benefits of particular schemes which may incorporate transport infrastructure, we also are able to give a sum back to TfL every year so that they can spend that in whichever way that they determine to make London's transport even better.
But Transport for London is basically a social, operates on slightly different principles from the classic landowner, or have I got it wrong?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, so TfL's, the majority of TfL's revenue comes from fares. So yeah, anyone riding on the tube in London or a bus in London, that's where the majority comes from. Some of it comes direct from the Mayor of London, so kind of core public money. But TfL is fundamentally a public sector business. Places for London is still fundamentally a public sector business, but exactly as you say, Charles, we've had to find a way of doing business in a slightly different way to get the outcomes that we need to get. And we do feel really, really strongly that whether it is joint venture partners, whether it is the customers on our estate, whether it's the people who are using our skills centres and we're training in construction skills, those partnerships are absolutely the power in the business model that we have developed.
Larry, over to you.
Well, it's nice that both South Africa and London have come so far to achieve what it is today, to create wealth in the community. So just a final question to both of you. What's next? So are you going to continue into another phase, raise it even higher? And the second part of it, from learning lessons from the two projects that you have, do you have any good advice for any one of the people here so that they can continue to do urban revolution orella? New and Kate?
Let's start with the latter part of your question. I think for me, it's keeping it simple. What we have found with the Social Employment Fund is that it's simple solutions. It's involving people in their own problems. So first of all, they identify the problems in their areas, and secondly, form part of the solution. So keep it simple, and you will see the passion come out within people, and that's how it will prosper. In terms of where we are headed to, obviously we've got a hub and spoke model. We have already, I think, expanded into other phases, and we look forward to growing it even further. I think from what people have seen and us being on this stage right now, it just proves that the model that we have works and can definitely be upscaled. Yeah.
Can you just give either of you, give a couple of examples of these simple solutions that you have locally identified, just so the audience has a flavour, Could you give a few examples? That would be helpful.
Yes. I think the point is that the Social Employment Fund is based on the premise that, as we've said, there is no shortage of work to be done to make communities a better place. And I'm sure that all of you here, if you think about the communities that you're from, there are social challenges to be addressed. And so the simple solutions come from engaging with where agency is coming within communities. So it's not about coming in from the outside and saying, we'll solve this problem, and this problem. It's about creating an instrument where local initiative can be validated, supported, enhanced, and expanded. And so the kinds of things, we've used the example of gender-based violence, but the kinds of things that we see at local level, there are programs that are employing homeless people, recognizing that part of the problem of homelessness in our context is unemployment, providing people with opportunities to work, and doing work that serves the common good, which is our strapline. And what we see is that when people are involved in work that communities appreciate and value, the self-esteem effect is actually augmented for participants. So it is things like homeless people doing work. There's a lot of urban food security that happens.
So what would the homeless people do? What work would they do, for example?
Okay, so some of the work that they're doing is greening work in the inner city, food security initiatives in the inner city. We have river rewilding in the inner city.
Sounds great.
We have placemaking. We have activities for youth, after-school activities that involve young people in sport, in art, we have public art initiatives. We have, what am I forgetting?
I think you've named them all.
One of the really interesting ones actually in informal settlements is a program that partners with Google Earth and GPS locates shacks in informal settlements. And what that has done is it means that in those informal settlements they can get access to emergency services and actually vote, because to vote you have to have an address. So those are the kinds of initiatives that people have come up with.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
So in terms of learnings, I would say a couple of things. I'll go back to what I was saying about the joint ventures that we've entered into. I think sharing works. I would be my message on that. And we are, the homes that we're developing is a kind of proof of that. We have struggled slightly with the economy. The market hasn't necessarily been particularly kind to us over the past couple of years, but that links to a second point, which is know who you are partnering with. Be sure that they share your values, your aspirations, your ideas of the future, even if the imperatives for your businesses are slightly different. And I sit here as confident as I can be that across the 9 different joint ventures we have as a business, and more to come, we have a set of partners who are absolutely the right ones, even if they are motivated by a kind of commercial imperative rather than a social one, as is the case with our core business. On the what next question, lots. I described.
Good to hear.
London has a housing crisis, and 20,000 homes is significant in its own right, but 20,000 homes is not enough. So there is more. There is looking at public land in the round, so not just limiting ourselves to the 5,500 acres that Places for London holds. It's looking at other public sector entities in London to see whether there are contiguous holdings, adjacent holdings, similar mindsets in those organisations that we can use to consolidate and build. So I think that's a more and better is a really, really important one. To facilitate that, we're going to have to keep investing money in our core estate. If we invest money in that core estate, we get the sort of virtuous circle of positive kind of social and housing outcomes. To do that, we will need to continue to work with communities across London. We will need to continue to diversify. So I was just saying backstage, our latest thing is electric vehicle charging. I've not really mentioned sustainability up here, but that's absolutely central to what we are as a business. That will help us achieve net zero, but also provide us with an income line that we can then recycle back into that core business. So we are ambitious, but boy, do we have lots to do. I shouldn't be sitting here, actually. I should be.
No, lots.
To get on with it, shouldn't I?
That's good. But I do understand, actually, housing is quite a big issue in many, many places. Yeah. Even during the tea break, I was talking to people from Vancouver. Vancouver is a design city, but they think they are moving in the wrong direction because they think that they are making use of the parks and whatsoever to build more housing. So their suggestion is to build housing above infrastructure so that you can preserve whatever you have done for the public use, yeah?
Yep.
So bear in mind that. Don't take away other places for common good, yeah, for your housing.
Absolutely.
Should we look at the
Yeah.
Buffalo video?
Yeah.
And then at the final thing, just
Yeah.
ask them a difficult question. No.
Can
The
we
Buffalo
show the
video, please.
third finalist, Buffalo's video, please.
The people feel the momentum because right now we're spreading hope.
And honestly, there is a lot of hardworking people inside. They don't want to move from the area. They want to change in the area. They want to fix the area.
You know, it's not just about the small businesses being developed, but the community being developed as a whole.
On a national level, the amount of historic information that we have within our buildings is unprecedented, really.
Thank you. Unfortunately, they are not here. Oh, it's not finished yet. Because it's almost time's up.
So this place is a special place, and you know, people know about us all over the world.
We can only go as far as the neighborhood is advancing as well, so we really have to work together and kind of move everybody's efforts forward.
So when you have a positive thing take place, like the investment from the state in Buffalo, it's rippling out, and now it's reaching the east side, and that's a wonderful thing.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just shows, I mean, these complex projects,
I
mean, it just, my
unfortunately,
God.
they're not here for our interactive
I was relaxing into
conversation,
that.
yeah. But anyway, with that end of the video, it's also end of our time for our discussion. So I'd like to thank Mark, Neo, and Kate for a very interesting and interactive conversation. All the best to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.